I would like to call the April 21st, 2025 Warrant Finance meeting to order. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
Okay. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for March 17th, 2025. Do you want to take a minute and read it?
Yeah, I'm almost done. Make a motion to approve the minutes
second.
of March 17th.
Any discussion? All in,
Good job, Cory.
yeah, all in favor? Okay. All right. Next item is, we have one article that will be voted on in referendum in June. And sorry, we didn't get into, in the building on time, so I haven't, my paperwork's not all together. The article reads, to see if the town will vote to continue the York County Sheriff contract in conjunction with the town of Shapley and to raise and appropriate $115,000 for Acton's share of the contract deputy costs and the new deputy vehicle purchase. We will be taking a vote tonight, so, 1, 2. Actually, we're missing Lee, who's not gonna be here.
Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
There's
6.
6 of us, so
Six
we're
of-
all
everybody
voting,
votes.
so,
Madam Chair, I would like to request permission to have somebody, an alternate vote in my stead on this article.
they were all voting anyway.
Everybody is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's 6 of us.
Oh. Who's missing?
Lee.
There's only 7 of us anyway.
Yeah. So we're all voting, so there's no need for you to, unless you want to abstain.
I probably will.
All right, so just, when we take the vote,
Yep.
we'll take care of that.
I'll make a motion to approve. There's no article, it doesn't say article.
It's right here, it's Article 4.
Yeah.
Article 4 is written.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, discussion.
I'd like to have a minute to look through this contract.
Absolutely. Everyone ready? Dennis?
I'm all set.
Steve?
Yep.
Joyce?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, all right. All right, who wants to start?
I'm having a hard time understanding the numbers here when they show that the total cost of the car is $43,500 plus $7,200 to outfit it. If we're splitting that in half,
That is half.
It is
Oh,
half.
that is half?
That
Okay.
is half.
okay,
Shabby's got the other one.
okay. Yeah, that's what I was missing, okay, because I think the numbers weren't adding up, okay.
Yeah. Go.
I'm not positive, because I don't have they didn't give us the breakdown that was in the email.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I brought my tablet so we would have those
Right,
figures.
because they didn't give it to us.
All right, so the breakdown of the 115 is 75 to 85,000 for the contract. Those are the wages. And this is, all right, and then 25 to 30,000 for the car, for Acton's share of the car.
Excuse me, is that, that's the total of the two towns?
No, that's our share.
Can you go over those figures again?
75 to 85,000 for the deputy. And then 25 to 30,000 for Acton's share of the car.
Excuse me. 42.5 is what you said our share of the car
It
was?
says $43,500 for the actual car and $7,200 to outfit it, which is a little over $50,000.
Right, so where does the 25.35 come from?
That's what I'm saying.
That was
something's
what is in the email.
Yeah.
Well, that gives them between 50 and 70.
Right. So this is an estimate anyway.
I appreciate that.
What I mean, Dennis, is we're getting a lot of estimated numbers, not,
Yeah.
I guess that's my concern, Joyce. that
yeah, exactly.
What we're doing is financing something for 6 months. Well, that's what we're being asked
I mean,
to do.
nothing,
And I don't understand, why we don't have an actual cost of the sheriff for that 6 months. It doesn't,
or frankly, even last
that
year's actuals.
variance is 10,000 on us, and if Shapley did the same thing, that's a $20,000 leeway thing. You know what I mean? That seems like an awful lot of money for a salary to me, but. And the same thing with the car. I understand, $7,000 or whatever it was to outfit
It's
the car,
in the
because
email.
obviously it needs all new stuff.
That's true now.
But with that being said,
Because I haven't seen the figure out, that's fine.
I don't understand why the cost of the car isn't more exact. I mean, I don't expect it to be by the penny, but again, $10,000 variance on our part, that's a lot of money, and we're buying this for only a guarantee of 6 months, because the sheriff's contract ends at the end of the year, the calendar year. And if we pay $35,000 or whatever it is for the car, by the time the sheriff gets done using it for 6 months, and so, and say that they don't renew their contract for some reason, shortage of help or whatever it is, because I do know when the sheriff was here, he talked how hard it was to get help, and it's getting harder and harder. We're gonna absolutely lose our shirt on this car, because that car can be driven for 6 months, and you take that car when it's new, we all know what happens to it, and you drive it off the lot. We're just gonna absolutely lose our shirt on that car, I believe.
Plus with the mileage, I mean, I'm sure that these are high mileage vehicles, which only deteriorates the value all that much more quickly.
What about the old sheriff's cruiser, in the sense that you retired that? It's still owned by Shapley and Acton, is that correct?
Wow,
Yes.
well, hold on. I went back through and reviewed some minutes from the, in the past. And on December 20th and 23, Joe, you had asked a question in public comment about the vehicle. And where is it? All right. Ruma also questioned if Acton provided the vehicle and if there should be compensation for the vehicle as well under the contract with Shapley. Rue indicated Acton paid for the vehicle in full. So according to the Board of Selectmen minutes on December 20th, 2023, Acton owns this vehicle, not Shapley.
I think, with that being said, that it was
That's possible.
I don't know what the right word is, misspoken.
Yeah. But the,
Because I believe in fact, Shapley will pay 50% of it.
right, all I have to go on is what's written in the minutes.
I'm not disagreeing
Yeah.
with Leslie, I'm just,
Okay, I understand that, but we need some clarification on that, so if there's some ambiguities that needs to be cleared up.
I think that is 2023, and I think for our purposes, probably unpopular, I don't think it really matters.
It matters who owns that vehicle, yes it does.
That does not matter, because right now, we're paying half and they're paying half. What is the fact? Does Shapley buy it out or do we buy it out?
Yeah, so
that's-
that will matter.
But, you know, the past, what happened in the past, whether it was misspoken, something, I don't wanna waste my time on it. My question simply is, who owns the car?
If you
Do
remember,
we buy it out, and at what price?
if you remember quick,
You know,
last
who
time,
owns the car when
they
it's
had to have
over?
a new deputy sheriff's car. We bought the car, the old one. It's an old car.
Yeah.
And so they bought it.
Who
for
bought it?
For $500. And then they fixed it up and then they ran it.
Who
Who bought it?
At York County Sheriff's,
The sheriff bought it.
yeah, the old car. So what I'm saying is, why couldn't they have done that initially? Why they had to spend $40,000 on a new car?
Well, the thing that I'm saying, and I think Dennis, I know you're good at reading these things, but it does say that there has to be a contract between Shapley and Acton. We don't have a copy of a contract between Shapley and Acton, do we? So we don't know actually what it is. I don't know truly at this point how germane that is. I would want to know if this went through. I would want to know that. But right now, how does the actual thing read? Which paper is it on, Leslie? Okay, Article 4 reads, to see if the town will vote to continue with the York County Sheriff's contract in conjunction with the town of Shapley to raise and appropriate $115 for Acton's share of the deputy, of the contract of the deputy cost and the new deputy vehicle. Okay? I think the most important line in there is the town will vote to continue. I think those are the words that, because if the town votes not to continue, nothing else matters.
No, and then you gotta decide what to do with the car.
If we're not, that's the car we have now. If we decide not to continue, that's the car now. And if we decide not to continue, that car would probably be worth 40 grand at the most. It would be to the sheriff's department, I'm willing to bet, with the
The
equipment.
car
in it.
is how old?
How old is that car? A year and a half?
I don't, Dennis, do you know when we bought the last car?
What was the date of the other thing you read?
That year? Really?
This was in
That's 4 years ago.
2023.
But-
Okay, I would
Alright.
say it was at least 3 years ago. Would be what I would say.
So, I mean, it's, I don't know what kind of a car it is, cause I can, I know how to book a car out. We don't know, we need, to know what year it is, you need to know what the equipment is, you need to know what the mileage is in order to determine value.
But don't forget, I'm gonna call it the law enforcement equipment. That's
That comes
not,
out.
that comes out, you know.
I didn't, yeah, I mean, equipment, I mean like, what kind of equipment that came from the dealer, not equipment from the sheriff.
Okay. But
So we currently own a car,
half of the car.
half of a car,
Well,
but we're looking at
according to
purchasing
the
another?
Board of Selectmen minutes, we own the car. We own it, and that's the Board of Selectmen minutes.
That's from 2023, and again, I'm gonna say that's gonna trip us up.
No, it's not gonna trip us up, it's just who owns the car? That's the question.
So, so now we're purchasing another car?
We're purchasing
We
another
need a
car.
new
So
car.
we need two, or is this
No,
a
no,
replacement?
one
car.
A replacement, okay.
One car. I think, in fact, I know at a selectmen's meeting, they said how long the cars, these cars get beaten up,
Yeah,
you know. And Shapley is like we are. So many private roads and dirt roads, et cetera, et cetera.
The sheriff doesn't go down the private roads for the most
And-
part. He doesn't do a lot of that. I never see him.
He did.
Wait,
He
you
did
live
that
on
time
one
with
road,
fire.
Leslie. A
What's that?
sheriff
Had the
will,
fire in Great East, last year.
Did he?
yeah, but
He had
a sheriff will go down a private road if he gets a call, there's a domestic, there's an unruly person, there's a, whatever. He will be going down there, so again, that's one of those things, I don't believe we can say he never does it. We don't know. It's another we don't know.
So, I know, so, like I said, all I'm saying is there's a discrepancy between general knowledge and what the minutes from the Board of Selectmen say. That needs to be cleared up. That's what I'm saying.
I know, but that is what you're saying, that's your opinion, but that's from 2023, you told us, correct?
What does when it said have anything to do with it? If
That
it
was-
says 2 years ago that we own the car, it doesn't matter if you say that 10 years from now, it's we own the car.
Because why it matters is, at many meetings, town administrator and general conversation at the meetings, we have to buy out Shapley. So,
I understand that, and I'm
Okay.
saying that there's a discrepancy, is what I'm saying that needs to be cleared up, that's all I'm saying.
yeah, well, I really think it's a bit much. I really, because to me, even if we had an old copy of the Acton Shapley contract, would be a good thing to have. Because then we would know what our commitment is, as our commitment is to the county, we would know what our commitment is to Shapley. And we don't. But again, I'm gonna go back to, I think this is a very difficult thing to even, we're having a public hearing on May 7th. We represent the people. We tell the people, is this written correctly? Yes or no? Does this make sense? Yes or no? But we don't know what the people want, and we're not gonna know until May 7th.
So, well, we have to vote tonight.
Okay,
But that's the problem with having a public hearing.
After.
after
After
our
fact.
meeting, exactly,
No,
exactly.
that isn't the norm. I know we did it with the 2 ordinances the last time, but that isn't the norm either. Usually
Right.
you have a public hearing prior to the
Right.
selectmen making a decision. Because normally the public hearing, if you had any things that the public might come up with, that might make a change in the ordinance, that makes sense, something that Dennis Long isn't saying, and then you would make that change, and then the board would say, this is what we're gonna do, in agreement with the public, and then we'd make our recommendation, and that'd be the process, but this hasn't been the process
Right.
because of this year.
Right.
So it makes it kinda,
Cart before the horse?
well, yeah, but it was easy with like Phil,
Oh, yes. Yeah.
because Phil came and explained everything as publicly it was capable of doing, as somebody in his position. And so really, other than some questions that might have came up, which were really not that many,
Excuse me.
it was pretty cut and dry, you know, and I don't even know if there is a contract between Acton and Shapley. I've never heard of a contract between them. There very well might be.
I think it could
but
just
I
be a
think it's-
gentleman's agreement.
I think it's just, well, I don't think it's got really anything to do with the town of Shapley. What it really does is that we have a contract with the sheriff's department for 20 hours a week, and this is what we're paying for the 20 hours a week. And then Shapley, I believe it was about the same time, said, well, we'll take the other 20, because originally, when we started with the sheriff, which was, I don't know, I'm gonna say 12, 14 years ago, we got the sheriff through a grant. And I forget how long that grant lasted, but that's how we started with the part-time sheriff to begin with. So I think the only contract is between Acton and the sheriff's department, and Shapley and the sheriff's department. I don't think there's any contract per se between Acton and Shapley.
No, but there's
Read
just an
this.
agreement to share the cost
Yes.
of the car.
There's,
You're
it's
right, and
mentioned
that's in
in
the
here.
sheriff's contract, I assume. I don't know if I read it or not.
I didn't read anything about the, specific, this looks like a standard contract that they have for all of the,
And maybe it's just in it's explained in the Warrant article, I guess.
so, I mean, it's up on the top, it says agreement between the towns of Acton and Shapley, but I don't think anything other specific to Acton
Right.
or Shapley in the body of,
Right, it's just
The
between
contract.
the Acton and
yeah, and I think,
County.
yeah, I think the only agreement between Acton and Shapley is to share the cost of the car.
Because you always have that question every year, if you remember for a while there was talk about Shapley, at their March meeting, what if they don't approve the 50%?
Yeah.
You know, then what? And it'd be the same with us, I guess, what if we don't approve the 50%? Then what's Shapley gonna do? You know what I mean? That's where our meetings aren't coincided, you know, together. That's my thought about it anyway.
At the last meeting, Dean Knight brought up the point, what he thought was that the York County sheriffs will be discontinuing this whole program in the future, which would leave us with, if we did this, we have a contract for the sheriff, and we have a car that's paid for, only we're not using it for the town itself, it will discontinue. So, are we buying a car that might in the future not be used?
Say that again, please?
We're buying a car that might not be used for the town of Acton if this program is discontinued. Well, do you remember Dean Knight said that?
Yeah, I know Dean Knight said that,
Yeah.
but, and it's a good valid point, but on that, I'm gonna say, I can't change yesterday. I don't know what's gonna happen in the future. I can only worry about today. Okay? Could that change in a heartbeat?
Yeah.
Sure it could. But we could talk about that for 2 hours. No, we, moving forward has to be our goal. Get the information we need. I mean, or take a straw vote right now and see where everybody feels. and how they feel.
Until the discussion's done, we're not doing that.
Well,
I mean, I feel,
it's actually not your call.
I-
We can do it if the others want to.
I agree 100% what Joyce is saying. What we're really here for is to vote on what's presented in front of us.
Yeah.
But one thing that I have a tendency to do, which some people like it, some people don't, is to have a clear understanding, as much as we can anyway, on what's in front of us. And quite often, you have to look at what's happened to know how we got here and where we are at this specific point. And I think a lot of the questions on this stuff tonight is good conversation, and I think that's what we usually do at our meetings. And myself personally, I think it's a great thing. People ask me questions and want points of view, and I know there are some people that don't agree with that process that aren't on the committee, but I think it's a great thing. But I also think it's like Joyce says, I mean, me alone, I could talk for another 2 hours without anybody else talking, so.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at it at this point is, are we getting a good value for our money?
And I'm looking at it, Leslie, as it's immaterial. Because the question is, do we want it? We want it or we don't want it. How we personally feel, we represent the citizens, okay? We're advisory. If you read this thing, I think if you got, it's grammatically correct. Do we want it or not want it?
All right, let's,
It's-
Lori,
it's
what do you
pretty-
think? What are your thoughts?
And still trying to get the concept of why we're buying a new car if we already have one.
Too many miles on it is what's been said.
So what's gonna happen to that car?
We don't know.
It can be put out to bid.
It can be put out to bid, that we
Okay.
know. It can
Alright.
be put out to bid.
Possibly the town, I think, could use it,
Yeah,
whether they need to buy a car.
They wanna buy a car for a municipal, the municipal,
Right.
it could be
Municipal.
used as a municipal
They
car.
could
Yeah,
use
it's
it,
all paid for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
you know,
There's a possibility
they
there.
they would have to buy out Chapley,
And
as
if
far
we-
as we know.
Yeah, and if we decided not to move forward with purchasing the new car, will the sheriff's office still?
No, no, the
Still what?
contract,
Adhere
this
to the
contract will
contract.
fail if we
That's
don't buy
the
the
thing.
car.
So
But
if
will
we don't
the-
buy the car, we have to have the contract.
Yeah,
That's why they,
Right,
that's
But
why,
don't
Lori,
forget,
they
if-
put all the money together.
yeah. If
It's
we
not
don't,
voted on
if we don't have.
Right,
all right, one person at a time, please.
Yeah,
yeah, so in my opinion, I do think we need the contract. I think it's important. Not having police in this area. I mean, there's a lot of empty homes all winter, there's a lot more traffic in the summer. I think it's, for the amount of money we're talking, I don't think it's that huge of a deal. That's my opinion.
Steve, your thoughts?
I'm for having a presence. Sounds like a lot for the car and all, but, I'd be like us to have a chance to buy that car at the end of the contract and use it for municipal purposes,
Yeah, rather than buying a brand new car.
rather than buying it or getting a lease.
Yeah.
Because some of these vehicles will go 200, 300,000 miles.
oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I think that'd be worth our while to see if we can keep it. But I think we really do need a presence in the town. But it's hard to decipher all these call logs, but how much time has really been out there? Because I think at the sheriff's meeting, I think they said there was 6 break-ins in the whole year. That's not a lot, which is great. Which is great.
Back in the 90s, there were a lot more.
Yeah.
But then there's more people here year-round.
Year-round.
So they're, people being around deters a lot of that,
Right,
I
sure.
know. I can't remember when the last time on my road we've heard of a break-in.
Right. Yep.
but then there's more of us there all year. There used to be a lot of them.
Yep. I was broken in when I wasn't here, and now I'm here, and I don't see anybody trying to break in.
No.
So that validates your point.
Still,
Well, I'm kind of like at a crossroad of spending the money this year and already having the coverage with the county tax, $400 and some odd thousand.
mhm.
You know, I've never seen the breakdown, but this is quite, the benefits really add up there too. We have a lot of speeding, and the other thing that maybe we had to pay $85 an hour to have the sheriff specifically stop people on radar. Whereas if they were on duty, I don't know what they were doing that, you know. But during the 20 hours.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
remember, we had to step up and say, okay, we have a problem. And they say, oh yeah, we'll do that, but we want more money, you know, so.
Can I ask another question?
Yep.
So if you're saying we have to pay $85 extra for speed control? Was that for like that sign?
No,
No.
we own the sign, that was,
Okay.
we got that with a grant, and, so, that was actually recently fixed, because it
Mhm.
had been broken, so.
Okay.
The sheriff does move it around,
Where
during
is
the
it now?
summer. It's put away for the winter, because of
Where's it
plowing and stuff.
So
Actually, what,
$85,
but
is
what
that
you're,
an
but
hourly
what
or
you're,
flat rate?
what you're asking is, I remember exactly, citizens came in, they lived up on the ridge,
Mhm.
okay? And they were saying how difficult it was to walk, it was quite dangerous, which, you know, most places, we don't have sidewalks. The select board requested a special detail in that particular area to control traffic. And that was $85 an hour for the.
So that was a special.
That was a
Yeah.
special.
Oh, special, yeah.
Yeah, that was special, and it, you know, when it happened, I don't remember the numbers, but it was like, oh, well, you know, they were there for so many hours on this day, and, you know, 6 warnings were given, 3 tickets, oh, and by the way, an outstanding warrant was served, you know, because someone came through. And at the time and when it happened, a little while afterwards, it seems, I think it's like anything else. It worked very well.
Mhm.
I mean, come on, we all used to slow down on Goose Pond Road
Oh, yeah, not
because we
anymore.
had that
Wow.
sign going at. But
Yeah.
are we still slowing down? I don't know.
Well, even up here on 109, like coming past Willie's, I mean, I go out in the morning, people are passing me from New Hampshire going 90 miles an hour.
Yes,
I
yes.
mean, they just blowing by.
Right, right,
Yeah.
And
right.
I've never seen a cop out there, ever.
Yeah, yeah.
I've seen them on Goose Pond
Right.
often, we got stopped there once.
Let's, yes.
I've seen them at the rec field years ago, they used to sit there
Yeah.
on 109. But that hasn't happened,
Mhm.
Recently.
not since we've had this contract. I
Really?
haven't seen it now, but we used to.
And is that something that the town can request? Like
Yeah.
more hours?
We can request, but we're gonna pay for it.
Well, I'm saying to divide their time, I mean, going by the time, I mean, what do they do?
Well,
Right.
the time
They
is
go
very
out on
much,
calls, I get that.
yeah, but the time is very much on theirs. I wish this thing had Acton and Shapley separated. And I may have misread it, but I don't think it does.
Well, the top page says Acton.
It does? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
See,
Yeah.
the other problem we had, Laurie, was that we would ask the people that, you know, go on the H Road at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, Saturday morning, people going to the town.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people speak.
Do something.
They didn't want to do that, they didn't want to be held down.
And this page is after the same
And
one.
these are the problems we had, people saying, well, what are we paying, what are we getting for our money?
Sanborn, isn't Sanborn in New Hampshire?
Sam, no, that's his name.
That's his name. He's actually very, very nice.
But excuse me, I thought they were talking about Sanborn.
Yeah,
Go
no,
there.
that's his name.
So sorry, yes, he is a very nice gentleman.
So some of these things, a question, like, illegal burn, I would think that would be fire department, not police. Am I,
The only thing is, I don't think the fire department gives a summons, Lori, I think it's a police
Okay.
have to.
Right.
okay, all right, that
I'm pretty
explains
sure
it then.
that the fire chief would notify.
Okay,
I'm not saying the fire chief can't, but,
You know, it's like electrical hazard too, what does that mean? You know,
right.
Electric hazard,
yeah, electric, yeah. At midway
wire in the
down.
road.
Cause they, I would call the, road commissioner.
Wire in the road, not even the road commissioner, I can tell you that even the fire department can't do anything until the electric company gets there.
CMP, yeah.
We've had it on our road, and I don't mean to just hone in on our road, but anytime it's been on Goose Pond as well, a wire is down, and they're gonna put a police car there, I don't care if it's state, county, or what, with flashing lights because it's a danger.
See, when there was a wire across 109 about a month ago, and I called the town hall, cause I didn't know who to call.
Yeah,
And, the town hall told me to call Will.
yeah,
I called Will, and he called the fire department.
yeah, and,
And then-
and they have to,
So that was the
Yeah, well,
chain of command.
right.
with the,
well, you call CMP, because otherwise the fire department goes and they just sit there and watch it, because they can't touch it till the power's shut off,
I get all that, Ed's involved in that.
you know,
It's like,
you know. I mean, we don't want fried
No.
fire people, you know.
Exactly.
But, you know, I think, again, it takes us right back to what do we wanna do? How do we wanna do it? And do we have enough information? And that is a personal thing. Do you feel we have enough information to make a intelligent decision?
I think you're still, like you mentioned, the cart before the horse here. I mean, we're gonna have a public hearing after we vote.
yeah. I mean, it is, Steve, it is what it is. I mean, it's,
now
I
it's
mean, it's,
time thing.
yeah.
It's,
My mind hasn't been changed since we had the special town meeting on going to 40 hours. So, I haven't seen anything in this packet that has changed my mind. And I look at it as value for the money we're spending. That's how I see it. Personally, I don't see it.
so making
You
it,
know, when you look at this, you look at the figures. You know, our share of just the deputy is 75, about approximately 75,000 plus the car. What do we get from that we don't get from the almost $500,000 we spend in county taxes, which includes the sheriff?
say that again, please?
Yeah, I was confused by that as well.
What extra are we getting for our money that we aren't getting from our county taxes, which include the sheriff?
So the York County Sheriff instead of having an
Yeah.
Acton.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but to be
Okay.
fair,
Yeah.
don't forget, if we don't have our own sheriff, we will still, our own, in quotes, sheriff, we still call 911, we still get the sheriff's department,
Mhm.
or we call 911 and there happens to be a state trooper closer, we get whoever's closer.
Yeah.
The biggest thing obviously is time, you know.
Response time.
And it could be fast, it could be, not fast, but, that's the whole thing.
That they're only available 20 hours a week. How many hours in a week?
Mhm.
So the response time isn't greatly reduced on those off, because he's not here all the time. We don't have a full-time, 24/7
Police department.
police department. So response times are always gonna be affected.
But some of those things, if you remember when the sheriff's department was here, they explained, they're still working for us, but they might not be right here. There's well, I guess the one that I remember the most is there's a disturbance, and it is a mental issue. I'm trying to choose my words carefully.
Yeah.
And sometimes one person can handle it, sometimes it might take two. They can be there, and this person, they may determine that this person needs to be hospitalized.
Mhm.
They can't just go and drop them off in the emergency room. There's paperwork to be done. It can take, I believe, the lieutenant that was here, so it can take up to 3 hours. Now, he's still working for Acton, taking care of this emergency situation, but to do his job properly, he's at Maine Med
Mhm.
in Sanford, kind of thing. If two things happen at the same time,
Right.
what do you do? But, so to me, the whole thing boils down to, at this point, because I do believe it's a little backwards, it's almost a yes or no. You're in favor of continuing it with all of the warts and scars and everything. You are in favor of going on with a 20-hour sheriff, deputy, our own, or
Go to York County.
you are saying it's
So-
not worth it.
So
Because I'm sorry, go ahead.
there's 128 hours in a week.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, 168 hours in a week. So we have a sheriff dedicated to us for 20 hours.
right, so if we have 20 hours, 52 weeks, we're looking at 1,040 hours a year.
Yeah.
Divided by just the 74,000,
Yeah.
we're paying 71.60 an hour for that, not counting the car.
How much?
71.60 per
An
hour.
Yeah.
And that's, for everything on that sheet, not counting the vehicle.
Not counting the
So
cost.
I'm just looking at, as far as, people talk about response times.
Mhm.
We have 168 hours in 1 week.
Yeah.
20 of it, we have a sheriff.
Mhm.
So the bulk of our time, we don't have a sheriff. And,
Right.
the sky's not falling.
Mhm.
What else? Dennis, do you have anything?
No, I just, as I said in the beginning of the meeting, I've got an extreme bias when it comes to this, so I'm gonna abstain from voting, but my general idea with this whole thing was to have some conversation and hopefully a clearer understanding of everybody so that
Steve?
They can understand as much as we can anyway with the information that we have.
Again, I like to have the presence, but, you know, like you were saying, that the cost is incredible,
Yeah.
plus the car. It's a lot of
I don't see the value.
So can we take a vote?
Anyone else have anything? Lori?
No.
Ron? You wanna,
If I may.
yeah, come up to the podium just so you can be on
Absolutely, I was
camera.
just waiting for y'all to get done.
That's it.
Yeah,
And just in case anybody does not know, my name is Roland Waterhouse.
Okay.
I am a citizen of the town of Acton, and I am speaking as a citizen of the town of Acton. I do not support that article to continue the part-time deputy. I have nothing against any of the sheriff's deputies whatsoever. I think they all do a fine job. I cannot support, I'm opposed to it because I don't see the value. Okay, we pay $400,000 in county taxes. If we had no contract, we still have sheriff coverage. And if you don't have sheriff coverage, you have state police coverage. So, yeah, there have been very few incidences that required an immediate major response by the police. There was one on Milton Mills Road when the woman knifed her husband. There have been one or two others, but for the most part, it's not a huge, my God, we had a mass shooting situation. Being as you have a deputy only for 20 hours a week, you don't know where he is. You don't know what his response time is going to be. If he happens to be, let's say he happens to be at the town hall. Okay, fine. There's a good possibility he could have a quick response time. If he happens to be sitting over in Shapley somewhere, guess what? It's going to take him a while to get here. Is it going to take him longer than if the sheriff has to send somebody from Limerick, Waterboro, Alfred? Yeah, probably. But, I don't see the value in continuing this contract. You have questions that I've heard about who owns the car. Okay, the current vehicle that the deputy sheriff is utilizing is jointly owned by the town of Shapley and Acton. Both towns paid for that vehicle. If the contract is terminated, both towns own that vehicle. Either one town buys the other town out or vice versa. Or possibly if the sheriff decides to weigh in and wants to buy the car, he can, but then the funds would be split evenly between the towns. Okay? If the town does go forward and opts to continue the services, the new vehicle will be, again, a jointly owned vehicle. Good idea, Steve, as far as, the town may be looking for a municipal vehicle. That's a good possibility, I'm not saying, I have no idea what the condition of the current deputy's vehicle is. Chances are it's probably well over 100,000 miles. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything at all. I'm gonna lose my train of thought. I can't justify supporting continuing the contract. I really can't. Cost effect, nah. We're already paying $400,000. I understand it's $400,000 in county taxes. All that doesn't go to the sheriff's department. I totally understand that. But he gets a good chunk of that money. Maybe not a lot of it, but he gets enough. What else? If we don't continue the contract, what's Shapley gonna do? I don't think they're going to say, well, I guess we're gonna pay the whole bill.
It's not our concern.
I understand that's not our concern. Totally understand that. But, it's something that a lot of people will consider, well, what happens? such as life. Life will go on. And as you said, the sky's not falling. That's just my opinion as a citizen, and I'm gonna vote no, regardless of how the Warrant Finance Committee votes. And do remember, folks, I used to sit in that chair. All we're doing is saying, do we agree or disagree? That's all. We're just making a recommendation. That's all the Warrant Finance ever can do, is make a recommendation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Roland.
You're
Phil,
welcome.
do you wanna weigh in at all?
Well, since you invited me here, I might as well speak. Mainly, Phil Caruso, mainly observations and questions so I can understand this. And whenever I'm making decisions, which I'm not gonna say either way on this now, but I keep them as simple as possible. So first, a few questions. I'm assuming that the 115 that's required is the 75 to 50% of the total cost for the deputy and 40,000 towards the vehicle, roughly.
Yeah.
So the vehicle itself is like 80 grand,
Yep.
assumption, okay. The 400,000 you keep mentioning, is that what Acton residents pay to the county, or what is that?
Yes,
Where's
that comes from our taxes.
From the county, the town residents? Okay.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how long we've had this contract, and how many years have we done this, do you know?
I think it's 11 or 12,
Not this
12,
particular.
13.
So, yeah, it comes down to, it is a simple yes and no, the way it's written. Like pretty much any vote is a yes or no. So you say, okay, I say to myself, okay, what is the priority? And of course, I always look at value, as I've said before. Different things have different value, and it typically has nothing to do with the actual cost, most of the time. So in this case, as Leslie's pointed out mostly, are we giving $71 an hour just for the deputy side of this? That's gonna be subjective to everybody who votes. 20 hours a week, again, that's the key question is, what does that actually mean as far as value, not necessarily cost, to the resident, or to me as a resident when I go to vote? Does that make sense for me to say yes to this again? I'm not gonna answer that, but that's what I'd be asking myself. And then, of course, if we had this on our own without Shapley, because that's an additional issue, because without the vehicle, the contract doesn't exist. And without us sharing the cost of the vehicle, none of that exists. Is that right?
You're right.
Yeah.
Reality-wise?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, it wouldn't matter what Shapley does, it's up to them. If Acton decided not to do it, that's their problem, basically. And so again, I would just look at it, okay, am I getting my money's worth, even if it was a personal contract? Is there value in what I'm getting? If there is, it's either yes or no. If it's yes, then we've determined that the vehicle needs to be replaced, so that question, if I say yes, this is a good value and I'm gonna vote yes, then it's irrelevant about the car because it's already been determined it needs to be replaced. Hence the $115,000, right, or 40 of it wouldn't be in there. And so overall, that's how I would look at it myself. And it is a simple yes or no. Am I getting, as a single taxpayer, meaning my wife and I, or one account, the value of what my share of that $115,000 for what I'm gonna get out of it, right? And that's what each person's gonna look at. Some are gonna think it's worthwhile just to have the speed traps once every 2 weeks, or, if that's their priority.
But we're paying extra for those.
Right.
So he's not, our deputy, contracted deputy is not doing those.
Okay.
They're paid details.
Okay, so yeah, I'm not gonna give my opinion on this, either way. That's not why I'm up here, I'm trying to educate myself, on this, but also point out it is a simple yes or no, right? Especially to you folks, because all you're gonna look at is Article 4, and as what we always say, as written. You know, and it comes down to value, which to me typically, like I said, has nothing to do with dollar signs, like when I spoke about the fire department and things, so. Just, my observations.
All right, thank you, Phil.
I do have a question. Do we know what we paid last year for a contract?
I don't, and I don't have all my paperwork with me, because it would be in last year's budget, but I don't have that.
Do you have your budget for last year?
26.
I don't have everything in my book, but if you have last year's budget. Lori
So what would it be under?
Lori has the best organized.
It was
I
under,
know.
I believe it should be under public safety.
So we have fire department, animal control, emergency, and other public safety.
It very well may not be, but that would be my. While they had it,
And that's on-
municipal government, and then I thought they had it through the fire department.
I don't see it on here.
And the cost of the deputy is very strictly regulated by their
It's all contractual.
union contract.
Yeah.
It's not listed as a line item, so I don't know where it would be, unless it was a separate item like this is.
No, we didn't, it wasn't a separate thing, Lori. It was grouped in with something.
Then it
With other?
Actually, wouldn't it be on the warrant? Would it be separated on last year's warrant?
I don't know.
unless it was a 2-year contract, then it would have maybe even been on last year's.
That's what I'm kind of wondering.
Well, we still,
Because there was talk about, is it a
Still, we
2-year
had to vote
contract,
on
1-year
money.
contract, et cetera?
we still have to vote on the money though.
No, I know.
No.
I'm just curious as to,
And it's not overly important, but it would be interesting to see what's in line with previous funding. Oh, here we go. General fund for the year ending June of '24, deputy services.
I am confused about one thing. The contract runs in a calendar year, but the funding is gonna be July 1st, right?
right.
Right.
So,
The funding is 6 months.
so 6 months from last year is funded the first 6 months of this contract
Yes, we funded it through the end of June.
from last year's budget? Okay.
So on this 2024, the general funding, it said that for the year ending June '24, it was 36,579 for deputy services.
And what's the number this year?
74, 74.5. So that's a huge increase.
That might be half a year though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at last
You
year's
said that?
warrant,
I don't
and it's
know.
other public safety, it says $118,397, but it doesn't say what the other public safety
But I
is.
thought Lori found
Yeah, this
it.
is on Schedule B, Departmental Operations General Fund for the year ending June 30th. So that would be for the whole year of
Right.
2024.
Yeah.
And it says deputy services, 71,972. I mean, I'm sorry, I take that back, 36,570.
That doesn't sound
No,
right.
actually,
It's
71,972. There's no lines, and I'm like,
So it's about
pull it
25.
back so I can see it.
So 71.4,
So it's kind of
71,972, so say
$2,500.
72,000.
So it really isn't any different.
No, it's a,
Yeah, it's a small percentage, yeah.
yeah, just a
very
small
small.
amount, so it's comparative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
All right, any other questions?
Just before we vote, I would like to react to what Phil said.
Okay.
And he has said this before, and I think what he said is very important. There's two things you have to look at, the finances and what the actual value is. And they both need to be separated when we're the ones, or the townspeople are the ones spending the money for this stuff, and to realize what you believe is the actual value of what you're paying for, other than just the dollar amount. Thank you for that, Phil.
Anything else before I call a vote? Ron?
Just one final comment.
want to stand up, please?
You just want to make me move, don't you, woman?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I'm too damn old.
Well, you're on camera now, smile.
Me? Irregardless of what you recommend, irregardless, okay? And, you know, again, strongly underline that word, because it's a recommendation to the town and the selectmen. And the selectmen are gonna do what they decide to do, period. Beyond that, that's it. And the townspeople have to make a choice on June 10th as to what they're gonna do, yes or no. It's up to the town. Hopefully, I think, based on the previous special town meeting that we had when this was initially discussed, there's a whole lot of non-support. But be that what it may. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to, again, I'm not gonna name any names, but I would like to say, the way the article is written, to see if the town, and I know a lot of articles are written that way, but that is what we are doing. We are seeing if the town will vote to continue with this arrangement we've had for several years. And that question is put in such a way, it is void of any kind of, what is the value, isn't there a value, what is this, what, that is the plain black and white yes or no question. There is absolutely, and again, I'm not saying which way I would vote, but this is without emotion, without saying, oh, the money's a lot, because you can say the money's a lot, and you can say what's a life worth. This is void of any of that. Is it something we want or we don't want? If we want it, there comes responsibilities with it. And responsibilities usually do have a price tag, you know. So I think that's a very important thing for us to look at. That is what we're voting on.
So clarification is that we're actually voting on or giving our approval or not on whether the town should vote.
Yes.
It's not about the actual pricing, et cetera.
That's how I read it, yes.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it as well.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay. All in favor?
We need a motion.
We already had it.
Yeah, we had it at the
We
beginning.
had it right at the beginning.
I made a
Don't
motion at
remember
the
that,
beginning. You
I don't
seconded it.
remember that far back.
You seconded it, Joyce.
Yes, yeah, so, okay.
Yeah.
Then do we have a second on it?
We already had a second, yeah.
Oh, thank
So,
you,
yeah, so
Leslie.
we had the motion, the second, and then the discussion. So now
Thank you,
we're at the
Leslie.
vote.
See what happens when we go for hours?
Dennis motion, Joyce second.
Okay.
All right, all in
Thank you, Lori.
favor, raise your hand. All right, so,
To put it up for a vote, I agree.
all opposed? All right, 3, 2, 1.
And I'm abstaining
That's why
for
you,
the fact that I have extreme bias when it comes to this.
okay. All right. So that's put behind us. I did get an email from Lee, that, he wanted, he brought up a few points, so I'm just gonna read the email, and go from there. All right, Leslie, as I informed you earlier, I cannot attend tonight's meeting. I have read the material and feel the town of Acton should support the 1/2 cost of the sheriff with Shapley, including half the cost of a new vehicle. I do not believe my vote counts if not present. I do like the idea of showing the taxpayers the tax implication of each warrant on taxes like you showed me from the town of Wakefield. Something to consider as a suggestion to the Board of Selectmen for the future. I would also like some clarification on why the taxpayers do not vote on union contracts at the school. I know they are voted on in New Hampshire at the school system. My daughter and son-in-law work. The law may be different in Maine, and it may be appropriate to ask the Board of Selectmen for the town attorney to provide an opinion on the issue. Union contracts represent such a large portion of the school budget, and we have no say. Just a few thoughts, Lee. So I'm just gonna throw that out there for whatever it's worth.
I agree with him. I mean, we have no visibility on what they're talking about, what they're agreeing to pay, and we just hold the bag.
Dennis? Thoughts?
No, I don't have it.
Joyce?
No,
I'm just looking at the value of the whole project. What are we getting out of it, you know?
All right.
I'm in agreement with Lee. I find it kind of disconcerting that we come in at the tail end after they've set everything in their budget. You know, their contracts, their step raises, and yada, yada, yada. And I do feel like we're kind of left out of that. Like, the town as a whole should be voting on that, is what I would think. And I could be totally
on
wrong.
contracts?
Not on the contracts, but have some input and discussion about saying, okay, well, we recommend that. I get they have a state wage requirement that they have to meet, but they're assigning themselves raises. It was the same issue with not giving raises to the Board of Selectmen. The school is giving themselves raises.
The school committee
Yeah.
does the.
Right.
Yeah,
And so I do find that a little odd.
I don't,
And I could be wrong because this is new to me, but
Right.
I just found it very strange.
no, your thoughts and opinion are extremely valuable, so please don't ever feel that way.
No, but I mean, like I said, this is new to me, and so that whole process to me just felt like,
Yeah. Leslie,
wow,
you
we're
have
just kind of sitting in the
experience,
background.
Leslie has experience with with unions,
Mm-hmm.
I should say.
Yeah.
Personally, I have not ever known of a contract that was open to the public
Mhm.
I have.
when it's union negotiations.
I have.
And, well, that was my question, you've seen that?
I have seen that, yes. The union I belong to the hotel union in Boston, local, Unite Here, local 26. And we just went through a contract negotiation this past year. And we all received an email every single day. There was a contract negotiation for us to go to the BCEE to attend.
Mhm.
So it was all open.
Yeah.
But did you
Gee.
actually take part in the negotiation, or was it presented to you and you would vote? I think
It
there's a
was-
big difference.
Well,
Mhm.
how they do it
Absolutely.
is they have groups that go in and do the negotiations, like the school does. So
Right,
they have a
right.
negotiating committee that goes in and does that with, with the union. The hotels give people to be on the negotiation committees, and then they have the hotels. So they all get together and hash it out. Same with my experience with General Electric, because my husband was very, very active in his union. And the only ones that weren't open to the public were the small table ones, which were, I forget exactly what they were doing. There was, you know, some sensitive, issues that, you know, that they were negotiating. But wages and benefits were all open. They, you know, it was all public knowledge.
And I mean, it is, like, when you look at the size of the school budget for the amount of children that go through, it's a huge budget. I mean, there are what, less than 300 students at that school?
Now, I know that when Dave Cody did that presentation on how much of a percentage of our budget was, you know, that
Goes towards
of our school to total budget, and he did
Yeah.
that through, you know, with us and Chapley, and I believe it was it Lebanon?
Newfield.
Or
Newfield.
Newfield. And I was talking to someone about it, and they said, well, they do the analysis of cost per child. And I was like, no, which is a good question,
Yeah,
you know. So what are we paying per child compared to what the RSUs are charging?
right.
So, I mean, that's something that also,
Yeah, but
we
I don't
might
want,
want-
I do not want to take on the debt issue. That,
No, I
I
just.
understand
no
what you're
one is
saying,
saying,
yeah.
no one is
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
that is the road we should go down.
No.
no,
But,
but my
you know,
opinion is it's
Let's,
not
let's,
what
you
we
know,
look at.
maybe we should have that you know, that analysis done too. How much are we paying per child, you know?
And even,
And then,
you know-
and then it comes into value, what are we, you know, is what we're paying
Right.
value for the education for our
And the
children?
same thing with, you know, special needs and IEPs, et cetera. Is it advantageous to send that out to another school system like Sanford that has
We
a
do
huge?
a lot. We do a
But
lot.
the special needs budget went way up. It was huge.
Because it's cheaper,
And that's
to
what I'm
keep it
saying. It's like,
in-house.
what would it be if we would have sent it?
it's much cheaper to
Yeah.
keep it, to send it out than to bring it in.
But that's what we would want to see.
Yeah, well,
I would
we
want
have
it.
seen it, we,
Yeah.
you know, through the years.
Yeah.
But there is one thing that I would like to add. We're not gonna have to worry about budgets for school till next March. I'm hungry, and I would
Well,
like to make
yeah.
a motion to
Hold
adjourn.
on, we didn't, should I bring that email to the Board of Selectmen at this point, or should I?
Not at this time.
Okay, all right,
No.
that's all I wanted to know,
Yeah.
I wanted a committee decision,
Madam Chair,
yes.
before you accept a motion to adjourn,
Oh, okay,
I need to step away from my seat as a Warrant Finance Committee member,
yeah.
and I have something to say as a citizen in reference to the Warrant Finance Committee. Dennis Long, I'm standing up here because I'm talking as a citizen. If you watched the Selectmen's meeting last week, a new constable said he wasn't there as a constable, he was there as a citizen. And I appreciate people's freedom of speech. But what's happened to this committee in the last month, or maybe a little bit longer, as you all know, there was one meeting, I think it was 4 weeks ago, I'm not sure now, with the town administrator and the Board of Selectmen and the code enforcement officer, kind of, as far as I'm concerned anyway, disrespected this committee as a whole. We're elected officials, and when it is said by employees, which they all are, they're employees of the town of Acton. Then the next week you had the code enforcement's, I don't know what he was at the time, secretary or whatever, come in and say some disrespectful things to the Warrant Finance Committee and certain members, is totally inappropriate. When Bernie Broder spoke at the last meeting, there was some things he said that factually just was not accurate. And when he got done reading his 2-page letter, the chair said, whatever he said, good job, great letter, whatever he said. This committee, and I've been doing this for a long time, this committee has had conversations with each other, with people that have come in front of us, and we have not disrespected not one person, whether it's an employee, a volunteer, or whatever. This committee had been nothing but professional. This ongoing thing, I thought, was over. I honestly thought that. Now, the complaint that I started reading the newspaper while they were going on their rant, the truth of the matter is, that is what I did, because I was tired of listening to it. I could get up and start to debate whatever they're saying. The bottom line, I have not received all the factual information that I've asked for this year. The information I gave out at the town meeting on the valuation were from the town hall. Now, if that had been accurate, that valuation would have said on the top of it, it was an estimated value, but it did not say that. So to try to turn that around and like I did something wrong, well, I was basing it on the information that the town hall gave me. This is not right. I have never seen the disrespect from town employees towards this Warrant Finance Committee in my 50 years of doing this. It just doesn't seem to stop. And is this gonna go on for the next 6 months? I get no idea. But I think the selectmen ought to take their own advice and move on, and not allow people to say stuff that's not true about the Warrant Finance Committee. I say everything I say is based on facts that we receive. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll say I was wrong. It's just like that, whatever date it was, when we supposedly, or I supposedly said something negative about the town employees. I asked 2 selectmen a week apart what it was that I said, and neither one of them could tell me after their rant. So my advice to them, to all the employees, to look at the personnel policy that the selectmen have approved, okay? And then on conduct. And the other one they should look at is the ethics policy, because it's a complete violation of their ethics policy, what they've been doing the last month or so. I've come to budget meetings with the selectmen and not allowed to speak. These personal vendettas that affect the character and people's perception of this whole committee, it's really being, as far as I'm concerned, it destroyed. And I don't know how to stop it. You can't stop it because they can say what they want. But they need to remember, all of these people are working for us. And I do know my role on the Warrant Finance Committee. I do know the ordinance. I helped create the revised ordinance. And I know what it was before that. And before that one there, the selectmen were part of the Warrant Finance Committee, non-voting part of the Warrant Finance Committee for many years. So you have somebody that comes up and says that I need to learn my responsibility or to understand the budget, and the selectmen to say, great job doing all this, where if I get up and they did the same thing or similar, they'd all be attacking me and shutting me down. It's wrong, and I thank you for the time, and now I'll step back onto the seat as a Warrant Finance Committee member for another year. Everybody's stuck with me, and I'm not gonna change. Thank you, Madam Chair. Now, Joyce,
Thank you.
you wanna do what you're gonna do?
What?
Joyce,
Sorry?
you wanna do what you was gonna do?
At this point, I don't remember what I was gonna do.
You was gonna adjourn.
I second to adjourn.
All in favor?